He was supposed to be silenced forever. So, how did this get out? For over a decade, not a single word, not a whisper, came from Meghan Markle's ex-husband, Trevor Engelson. But now, out of nowhere, the silence is broken. And what he's revealing? It's not just personal. It's explosive. The man who knew Meghan before the crowns, cameras, and carefully curated image has allegedly stepped into the spotlight, with receipts. And Meghan? She's reportedly furious, scrambling behind the scenes to stop what's already started. But why now? And what secrets could be so damaging that her entire team is in crisis mode? For years, Trevor Engelson kept quiet. No interviews, no cryptic social media posts, nothing. While Meghan Markle became one of the most polarizing public figures in the world, her former husband stayed completely in the shadows. But now, suddenly, that silence is shattered, and the timing couldn't be more dangerous for Meghan. According to multiple insider reports, Engelson has decided to speak, allegedly revealing intimate, never-before-heard details about his marriage to Meghan. Details that don't just contradict her polished public image, they threaten to blow it apart. The man who knew her when the cameras weren't rolling, when no titles were attached to her name, is finally telling his side. And what he's saying? It's not flattering. This isn't some offhand comment in a passing interview. It's being described as a deliberate move, one that sent shockwaves through Meghan's inner circle. Sources claim the statements were so unexpected, so damning, that her PR team didn't even have time to spin it. They were blindsided. The reaction was immediate. Meghan's name began trending within hours, under hashtags like #TrevorToldTheTruth and #MegaManipulated. Social media lit up. Commentators, fans, and critics all scrambled to understand what exactly Engelson had revealed, and why now, after more than 10 years of silence, he suddenly chose to speak out. And while the exact content of his remarks is still trickling out through whispers and leaks, one thing is clear: whatever he said was enough to trigger full-blown panic. Meghan has reportedly gone into lockdown mode, summoning lawyers, strategists, and crisis managers in a desperate attempt to shut the story down before it snowballs further. But it may already be too late. Trevor's decision to come forward is being interpreted as more than just a personal move. It's being seen as a strike against a narrative Meghan has spent years building. A narrative that portrays her as the misunderstood outsider, unfairly targeted, and fighting against an oppressive system. Engelson's account could be the first serious crack in that story, and maybe the start of a full-blown collapse. Because once the silence is broken, especially by someone who knew you before the fame, you can't unring the bell. The moment Meghan read the headlines, everything reportedly changed. According to sources close to her team, what followed wasn't just frustration, it was full-blown fury. Not the kind of carefully composed anger you see in press statements. This was behind-closed-doors chaos. One staffer claims she screamed loud enough to rattle the walls. "He was supposed to be silenced forever! How in God's name did this get out?" The fury wasn't just about what Trevor had said. It was about control, about the fact that someone, especially him, had slipped out of her grip. Immediately, Meghan's high-powered legal and PR teams were thrown into emergency mode. Some reports suggest she was furious with them, blaming her lawyers for not locking Engelson into a stricter divorce agreement, and raging at her PR team for failing to bury the story before it caught fire. There are even whispers that she threatened to clean house, firing anyone she felt didn't act fast enough. Legal experts watching from the outside say Meghan's response was intense, maybe too intense. One attorney pointed out that if the claims being made were false, a confident denial would have been the smartest move. Instead, Meghan is allegedly trying to impose a legal gag order, despite there being no signed NDA in place from the time of her divorce. Without that, her team is grasping at straws, hoping the fear of legal trouble is enough to scare Trevor, or anyone else, into silence. But Trevor's not the only problem. The story has legs now. It's already spreading, and with every new leak or repost, Meghan's grip on the narrative slips further. Even more revealing? Some insiders say she's not trying to correct the story. She's not issuing rebuttals or publicly defending herself. She's just trying to shut it all down. That silence, according to image consultants, speaks volumes. Not responding can sometimes be worse than saying the wrong thing, especially when your brand is built on transparency and truth. The more aggressively she tries to control the fallout, the more it looks like there's something she's trying to hide. And if that's the case, then this isn't just damage control. It's desperation. As the story spread like wildfire, Meghan's carefully maintained public image began to unravel, and fast. Within 24 hours of Trevor Engelson's revelations making waves online, Meghan started pulling the plug on key appearances. First to go, a high-profile women's business summit in Los Angeles where she was scheduled to headline. Then came a sudden cancellation of a charity QA event in New York, one she had publicly committed to for weeks. No official explanations were given, no apologies, just silence. Behind the scenes, sources claim Meghan was advised to lie low, to ride out the storm, as one PR insider put it. But others say the truth runs deeper. Meghan wasn't just advised to stay home. She was, allegedly, in no emotional state to appear in front of cameras. One former staffer didn't mince words. She's unraveling. No one on her team thinks she could survive a live interview right now, not without snapping. Public relations experts familiar with Hollywood crisis management say this kind of abrupt retreat only happens when the subject is overwhelmed. The pacing, the scrutiny, the unpredictable questions from the press. Meghan, once a seasoned performer, is now reportedly too volatile to risk even the most controlled setting, and the consequences are stacking up. These were not small appearances. These events were meant to boost her rebranding efforts. Polished, powerful, philanthropic Meghan 2.0. Instead, her absence is doing the exact opposite. Fans who once applauded her speeches and advocacy work are beginning to ask hard questions. Critics who doubted her sincerity now feel vindicated. And the press? They're smelling blood in the water. Even more concerning is the public's changing tone. On social media, people are no longer debating whether the stories are true. They're assuming they are. The optics of sudden cancellations and total silence are speaking louder than any statement ever could. This wasn't just a minor PR hiccup. This was a full-scale image collapse. Because once the public starts doubting your motives, every carefully written quote, every polished podcast, every staged appearance starts to feel like fiction. And for someone whose brand depends on being relatable, vulnerable, and real, that kind of doubt is fatal. While Meghan's public calendar was quietly cleared, things behind the gates of her Montecito estate were anything but calm. According to insiders, what unfolded in private was far more chaotic than anyone imagined. A former staffer, speaking under strict anonymity, dropped a shocking detail. Meghan Markle allegedly has a rage room. Yes, a real one. Soundproofed, insulated, designed for exactly what it sounds like. Full volume screaming, crying, and throwing things when the pressure becomes too much to handle. And lately, it's reportedly been getting a lot of use. That same staffer claims Meghan completely lost control after reading headlines linking her to trending hashtags like #Trevor told the truth and #Megha manipulated. The source says she shattered 2 antique vases, violently kicked over a designer lamp, and stormed through the room in a fury that left damage in her wake. She's not just angry, the source said. She's scared of what might come next. It's not just the words Trevor may have said. It's the realization that she can't stop what's happening. For someone who's always been calculated, polished, and ahead of the narrative, this loss of control is reportedly triggering something deeper. Panic. And it's not just this one source. Other insiders close to her team suggest that Meghan has developed a pattern of emotional explosions behind the scenes, especially when her name trends negatively online or when she feels the press has turned against her. This latest outburst, though, feels different, more intense, more desperate. And it's easy to see why. She built an image around strength, poise, and calm in the face of adversity. But now, that image is being torn apart, and she knows it. The rage room, whether real or exaggerated, has become a metaphor for what's happening inside the palace walls of Montecito. What used to be tightly controlled, perfectly rehearsed, and endlessly managed is now boiling over. And the real danger? When someone starts breaking things behind closed doors, it's usually because the walls are closing in. As the chaos outside intensified, things inside Meghan and Harry's home reportedly took a quiet but unmistakable turn. While Meghan raged behind closed doors, Prince Harry disappeared into the background. Insiders say he's been retreating, physically and emotionally, spending more and more time alone in remote corners of their Montecito Ancillon. One source described him as visibly shaken, pacing the grounds or disappearing into his study for hours on end. He's not answering calls, not engaging, just withdrawing. It's not the headlines themselves that have him rattled. It's the pattern. He's exhausted, a longtime friend allegedly confided. Every time he thinks things are finally calming down, something new erupts. And this time, it's from her past. He can't fix this one. That's the part that reportedly hit Harry the hardest. He has no control over it. He can't blame the press. He can't blame the palace. He can't protect Meghan from her own past. And the weight of that helplessness is starting to show. There are also rumors that Harry has finally voiced his frustrations behind the scenes. According to one insider, he sat Meghan down and told her flat out, "You need to stop blaming everyone else. You have to take responsibility for your own choices." That line reportedly sparked yet another argument, loud enough for staff to overhear. For years, Harry stood by Meghan's side through every storm. He defended her against the royal family, against the media, against global backlash. But now, it seems even he's reaching his breaking point. Those close to the couple say the tension in their home is palpable, with Meghan spiraling and Harry shutting down. The once tightly united front now seems fractured. And if that's true, it could be the most dangerous development yet. Because no matter how many public statements are made or how well-crafted the PR spin might be, when the cracks start showing inside the relationship itself, especially in a partnership built on loyalty through adversity, the whole foundation begins to wobble. And if Prince Harry, her fiercest defender, is starting to waver, then Meghan may be facing this storm alone. As Meghan's world spun into chaos, one question began echoing louder than the rest. What exactly did Trevor say? And is it true? Until now, Trevor Engelson has been a ghost in Meghan's story, mentioned only in passing, rarely quoted, and never really heard. But now, his alleged comments are forcing people to rethink everything they thought they knew about the Duchess of Sussex. According to reports, Trevor paints a version of Meghan that's cold, emotionally detached, and hyper-focused on status and fame. He allegedly describes her as someone who didn't just stumble into royalty, but someone who planned for it, meticulously. The most explosive claim? That Meghan had created a vision board featuring Prince Harry before they had ever met. Let that sink in. If true, it means her entire love story with Harry wasn't a whirlwind romance. It wasn't fate. It was strategy. And that one detail has struck a nerve with the public. Suddenly, every past interview, every emotional anecdote, every quote about falling for the man, not the prince, is being reanalyzed and doubted. Interestingly, this isn't the first time such a claim has surfaced. Megyn Kelly previously stated that someone close to Trevor had told her about the same vision board years ago, but the story was dismissed as tabloid fiction. Now, it's gaining traction and credibility. But is it real? Or is Trevor simply lashing out? Even the most skeptical observers admit one thing. Trevor's timing is suspiciously deliberate. He stayed silent for over a decade, refusing to speak even when Meghan dominated global headlines. So why now? Why break that silence unless what he has to say feels too important or too personal to keep hidden? Some believe he's simply tired of the curated narrative Meghan has built. Others suggest he's holding back even more, choosing to drip-feed information rather than drop it all at once. A slow burn, a warning shot. Whatever the motive, one thing's becoming clearer by the day. Trevor isn't just telling a story, he's unraveling one. And for Meghan, that might be the most dangerous truth of all. For years, Meghan Markle cultivated an image that millions bought into. The brave outsider, misunderstood and mistreated, standing tall in the face of archaic tradition and ruthless media attacks. Her story resonated because it felt honest, emotional, human. But now, that image is unraveling. As Trevor Engelson's alleged revelations continue to ripple through the media, the response has gone far beyond curiosity. It's become doubt, the kind that's difficult to repair once it takes hold. Her past interviews, once praised for their vulnerability, are now being viewed with skepticism. Her podcast episodes, where she spoke about overcoming hardship and being silenced, are being replayed with new scrutiny. People are asking, was that really her truth? Or just a carefully packaged brand message? On social media, the shift is undeniable. Supporters who once defended her are going quiet. Others are turning. The hashtags are sharp, biting, and growing in numbers. Trevor. Told. The truth. Mega manipulated. Royal rebrand fail. They're trending not just in isolated circles, but globally. And the tone has changed. It's no longer about whether Meghan is being treated unfairly. It's about whether she's ever been honest at all. That kind of erosion doesn't happen overnight. It's the result of tiny cracks spreading over time. But Trevor's voice may have accelerated the process. His account, however limited so far, challenges the foundation of Meghan's public persona. And when someone who shared your life, before the titles, the cameras, the global platform, starts painting a different picture, Opal, listen, especially when you don't fight back. To this point, Meghan hasn't directly responded to any of the allegations. No interview, no post, no statement, just silence. Her legal team is working overtime, reportedly sending warnings and preparing to block future disclosures. But the public sees that silence as strategic, not strong. In the court of public opinion, silence often feels like guilt. Reputation is everything, especially in Hollywood and royalty. And Meghan's reputation, once bulletproof in certain circles, is now showing fractures that no amount of PR polish can hide. Because once people stop believing your story, it doesn't matter how well you tell it. If what Trevor Engelson has already said is just the beginning, what else does he know? That's the question now haunting Meghan Markle's team, and possibly Meghan herself, because according to multiple sources close to the situation, Trevor didn't reveal everything. In fact, he may have only scratched the surface. Insiders whisper that Engelson has far more intimate details from their marriage that he's been holding back. Out of respect, perhaps, or out of fear. But now, that restraint may be wearing thin. One source with connections to Hollywood media circles claims that Trevor is considering going public in a major way, either through a tell-all memoir or a sit-down interview with a major outlet. And this time, the gloves could come off. Why now? Some say it's personal, that after years of being painted as the forgotten ex, the footnote in Meghan's origin story, Trevor finally wants his voice heard. Others speculate it's about protecting his own reputation, especially as more people start asking why he stayed silent for so long. But there's another theory, too, that Meghan's own actions, her lawsuits, her documentaries, her repeated reinvention, have pushed him into a corner, that he's tired of being part of someone else's version of the truth. And here, where it gets even more intense. Legal experts say Meghan's team is scrambling. Behind the scenes, they're reportedly trying to shut down any potential deals Trevor may be pursuing, sending warnings, making calls, threatening litigation if necessary. But without a non-disclosure agreement in place, their options are limited. Trevor, for the first time in years, is free to speak. And that's what terrifies them. Because the public is already questioning her. Her image is already in crisis. If Trevor were to release specifics, dates, screenshots, letters, anything verifiable, it wouldn't just be embarrassing. It could be catastrophic. There's a saying in PR, the second story is what kills you. Not the first scandal, but what comes after. And Meghan's first firestorm is already out of control. If Trevor is holding more cards, and he chooses to play them, it won't just rewrite her past. It could end her future. Meghan Markle didn't just build a public image. She constructed a narrative, a story that positioned her as the victim, the outsider, the silenced voice rising above a royal machine. And for years, it worked. Carefully managed interviews, intimate documentaries, tearful anecdotes, all shaping a version of her life that felt raw, vulnerable, and relatable. But now, that version is under siege. Not from a palace insider, not from a scandal-hungry tabloid, but from the one man who knew her before the fairy tale ever began. Trevor Engelson's alleged decision to finally speak has done something no royal feud, media storm, or legal battle has achieved. It's shattered the illusion. Because this isn't about royal titles or family drama. This is about who Meghan was when no one was watching. And the more this story unfolds, the more people are realizing that maybe, just maybe, they didn't know her at all. Critics say this isn't just a PR crisis. It's a collapse. The once solid foundation of public sympathy is crumbling under the weight of unanswered questions, quiet disappearances, and growing skepticism. Her silence isn't being seen as poise anymore. It's being interpreted as avoidance. Her legal threats no longer read as protective. They feel like desperation. And the most damning part? This storm wasn't triggered by new enemies. It came from her past, from someone who shared her life intimately, from someone who, until now, kept her secrets. That's what gives it power. That's why it's cutting so deep. The image of Meghan as the empowered duchess, the social justice warrior, the misunderstood woman at odds with a broken system, it's all being re-examined, not just by the media, by the public, the very people who once rooted for her. Now they're asking, was it ever real? And in that question lies the real danger, because when trust breaks, it doesn't come back easily, and when a story unravels, it rarely stops at the first thread. For Meghan Markle, the silence has been broken, the curtain has been pulled back, and the carefully crafted image, the brand, the persona, the narrative, is no longer bulletproof. It's collapsing, and the world is watching. The story that Meghan Markle tried to control is now spiraling beyond her reach. Her silence is no longer protecting her. Her legal threats are no longer intimidating. And her once untouchable image? It's crumbling, faster than anyone expected. Trevor Engelson didn't just break a silence. He cracked open a door that's been locked for over a decade. And now that it's open, more voices may follow, more stories, more truths, or, at the very least, more questions. Is this just the beginning of a long overdue reckoning? Or is there still more that we haven't been told? One thing is certain. The world isn't just watching. It's waiting. Because the final chapter of Meghan Markle's story hasn't been written yet. And when it is, it might not be her holding the pen.